At 22, I thought I had everything figured out. I was fresh out of college with a degree in hand and big dreams about the future. My life was supposed to be moving forward, and I was certain that I would step into a world of success and achievement. But in reality, my transition from college to adulthood felt overwhelming. I didn't know where to start. I felt lost, unsure of which direction to take. One afternoon, I sat at home, scrolling through social media, and saw a post from a local senior care home looking for volunteers. Something about that post caught my attention, and I felt a strange pull inside me. I thought, why not? This could be a good way to spend my time, maybe even help someone, while figuring out what to do with my life. It wasn't the career I had imagined, and it wasn't glamorous, but I decided to give it a try. I showed up at the senior care home the next day, a little nervous but hopeful that it would be a meaningful experience. The first thing I noticed was the smell, something I had never really thought about. But more than that, it was the silence that hit me. It was a quiet, peaceful place filled with people who were often alone, waiting for someone to visit or talk to them. The staff was kind and warm, but I quickly realized that they were stretched thin. Taking care of the many residents, it was clear that the volunteers had an important role to play. I was assigned to spend time with Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman in her 80s. She was soft-spoken, with silver hair and bright, sharp eyes. She was sitting alone in her chair, looking out the window when I approached. I introduced myself, but she barely looked up. At first, we didn't speak much, and I wasn't sure how to engage her. What do you say to someone who's lived so much more of life than you have? How do you connect with someone who might be feeling the weight of their years? But over the weeks, I found myself spending more time with Mrs. Thompson. I brought her books, tried to engage in small conversations, and simply sat beside her when she wanted company. Gradually, I began to learn more about her. She had grown up in a small town, had children, and lived a full life. But now she was lonely, often confined to her room. She shared stories of her past, her children's accomplishments, and her own youthful dreams. Her eyes would light up when she talked about the places she'd traveled and the people she'd met. I learned that the people in these care homes, often ignored by society, held so many rich stories and lessons that I could learn from if I took the time to listen. One day, after several months of spending time with her, Mrs. Thompson shared something that changed my perspective completely. She told me, "You know, when you get to be my age, you start thinking about the things you wished you had done differently. But at the same time, you realize that you did the best you could with what you had, and that's enough." Those words stayed with me. At 22, I was so focused on where I was going, on achieving certain milestones and goals, that I hadn't taken the time to reflect on how far I had come. Mrs. Thompson, despite her regrets, was content with her life. She had made her peace with the choices she had made, and that made me think about my own life. I realized that I was so caught up in the idea of success, of climbing the ladder, that I wasn't appreciating where I was in the moment. That was the first lesson I learned during my time at the senior care home. Live in the present. We spend so much time thinking about what we want to achieve, but we often forget that the present moment is where we can find happiness and fulfillment. I realized I didn't need to have everything figured out right now. I could take my time, make mistakes, learn and grow without the pressure of constantly needing to get ahead. The second lesson came from seeing how the residents interacted with each other. They shared laughter, stories, and even their moments of vulnerability. It was a reminder that community and connection are everything. We often get so caught up in our individual goals that we forget the importance of the people around us. Many of the residents didn't have family who visited often, but they found comfort in each other. They built a sense of camaraderie in a place that, for many, was a last stop. Their ability to find joy, even in the most challenging of circumstances, taught me the power of community. It's about being there for one another, especially during difficult times. I spent more time talking to the other residents, learning from their wisdom. One woman, Mrs. Sanders, had spent her entire life as a teacher and had traveled the world with her husband. Another man, Mr. Williams had been a farmer his whole life and had an infectious laugh that made everyone around him smile. They weren't just elderly people. They were living stories, carrying experiences and insights that I, at 22, couldn't even fathom. I learned that everyone has a story, and those stories are valuable, whether shared in a busy cafe or whispered in a quiet room at a senior care home. But the third and perhaps most important lesson was about the passage of time. Working with elderly people made me think deeply about how I was spending my own time. We often think we have all the time in the world, but time, once gone, can never be regained. Mrs. Thompson's words about making peace with her past stuck with me, as did the way she spoke about the moments in her life that mattered most. The laughter of her children, the adventures she took, and the people she loved. Those were the moments that she remembered fondly, not the career achievements or the things she had accumulated. It made me realize that it's the people and experiences that shape our lives, not just our accomplishments. I took those lessons and started applying them in my own life. I began spending more time with family and friends, savoring the moments I had with them. I started taking risks, exploring new hobbies, and stepping outside my comfort zone. I realized that while it's important to work toward your goals, it's just as important to make time for the things and people that truly bring you joy. Life is fleeting, and I didn't want to look back one day and wish I had spent more time doing what mattered. My time at the senior care home also changed the way I viewed aging. I had always been afraid of getting older, of losing my health, my independence, and my vitality. But as I spent time with these incredible people, I realized that age doesn't define you. What matters is the attitude you have toward life. There's no age limit to learning, to growing, or to living a meaningful life. The residents I met taught me that no matter where you are in life, you can still live with purpose, joy, and a sense of community. By the end of my year-long volunteer stint, I was a changed person. I had learned to appreciate the present, to seek connection with others, and to embrace the passage of time. I had also learned the value of giving back, of contributing to the lives of others, and how much that enriches your own life. The wisdom I gained from the seniors I cared for has stayed with me, and I carry it with me every day. I'll never forget Mrs. Thompson's smile as I said goodbye on my last day. She looked at me with a sense of peace and said, "Remember, it's never too late to live a good life. Don't wait for the right time. Just live now." And that's the most important lesson I learned. Live now, live fully, and never forget to appreciate the people and moments that make life beautiful. As my time at the senior care home went on, I began to understand something that had always eluded me. Life is not measured by how much we accomplish, but by the quality of our relationships and the depth of our experiences. I had spent so much time thinking about the next big achievement or milestone that I forgot to truly appreciate the beauty of the present moment. These elderly people, despite their struggles, were teaching me how to live, not just how to survive. I started to realize that the stories shared by Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Williams, Mrs. Sanders, and others weren't just about reminiscing. They were about celebrating life. Each of them had faced struggles, losses, and heartache, yet they carried on with grace, gratitude, and a deep understanding that every day was precious. They weren't consumed by what they didn't have, or the things they wished they had done differently. They were focused on the here and now. It struck me how often we, as younger people, focus on doing. We rush from one task to another, one goal to the next, always looking ahead. But these seniors, who had lived full lives, taught me that the present moment is the only moment that truly matters. And I realized how much I had been missing by not taking the time to appreciate the small things, the conversations, the quiet moments, the little joys that come from simply being present. One particularly impactful moment came during my last few weeks volunteering. I was assigned to spend a day with Mr. Martinez, a man in his late 70s who had been a war veteran. He wasn't as talkative as the others, but he had an undeniable strength about him. That afternoon, we sat in the garden outside, and I noticed him watching the birds. He looked at me and said, When I was your age, I never noticed the birds. I was too busy chasing something, always trying to get ahead, to make my mark. But now I see how much beauty I missed in those moments. His words resonated with me deeply. Here was a man who had lived through wars, personal losses, and hardships. Yet he had come to realize that life wasn't about the battles you fought, but about the moments of peace you take in along the way. We often spend our youth focusing on the things we want to achieve, but as we grow older, we come to understand that the real treasures of life are the moments we often overlook. The laughter of a loved one, the warmth of a shared hug, the beauty of a quiet morning. That day, I learned to slow down. I realized that success is not defined by how much we accumulate or how far we get ahead of others. It's about the peace and contentment we find in the relationships we build, the kindness we share, and the gratitude we cultivate every day. I decided that I would carry that lesson with me, to slow down, to appreciate the present, and to treasure the moments that are easily missed in the rush of life. Another important lesson I learned from my time at the senior care home was the power of grace. As the residents shared their stories with me, I saw a common thread among them. They had all faced challenges, and some had made mistakes, but they had also made peace with their past. They didn't carry their regrets like a heavy burden. Instead, they had learned to forgive themselves and others. They understood that life is too short to dwell on the things we cannot change. In one of my last conversations with Mrs. Thompson, she said, "You can't go through life without making mistakes. The key is to learn from them and let go of the shame. The world will move on, and you'll be left behind if you don't let go." Her words were a revelation to me. I had spent so much time trying to be perfect, avoiding mistakes at all costs. But I now realize that mistakes are part of life. They are what shape us. They teach us humility, resilience, and compassion. And the ability to forgive ourselves, to release the guilt and the regret, is what allows us to move forward. I left that senior care home with a heart full of gratitude and a mind full of lessons. The experience had changed me in ways I hadn't expected. I realized that the value of life lies not in what we achieve, but in how we live, how we love, and how we treat others. These elderly individuals who had experienced so much had shown me that the true meaning of life is found in connection, in the relationships we build, the people we care for, and the love we give. I went on to pursue a career in social work, and much of the wisdom I gained from the senior care home stayed with me. I carried the lessons of patience, compassion, and empathy into every aspect of my life. I found myself reaching out to people more, listening with a deeper sense of understanding, and valuing my time with others. I realized that the success I had been chasing was not a destination, but an ongoing journey of learning, growing, and giving. In the years that followed, I kept in touch with some of the residents I had grown close to. I would visit them whenever I could, always cherishing the time I had with them. And I continued to volunteer at different places, spreading the lessons I had learned about love, patience, and the importance of living in the moment. One thing became abundantly clear to me. We don't just grow older, we grow wiser. With age comes the understanding that life is not about what we accumulate or what we achieve. It's about the people we meet, the memories we create, and the love we share. The seniors I cared for in that home taught me the value of the simple, quiet moments that so often pass us by. If I could give any advice to someone starting their own journey, it would be this: take your time. Don't rush through life, thinking that your worth is determined by how fast you move or how much you achieve. Instead, focus on the relationships you build, the love you give, and the kindness you show. Let go of the need to be perfect and embrace the beauty of imperfection. Life isn't about getting ahead. It's about appreciating the journey and the people who walk it with you. And so, as I look ahead to my future, I know that I carry these lessons with me. I'm still learning, still growing, and I will continue to strive to live my life with the same grace, gratitude, and understanding that I learned from the incredible people at the senior care home. Because in the end, it's not the years we live, it's the moments we make, the people we cherish, and the love we give that define us.